Hello everybody, welcome to episode 17 of the Tamagotchi Reconnection series here, and if you were expecting a Digimon video today, I'm sorry, I got busy with other things. That'll be coming right after this video, so we'll be waiting on weird processing things and stuff like that. But that will be coming a little bit soon, so expect the general one video to be out a little bit after. But if you are here for the Tama action, then here you are. So let's get into it. So our Tamas have not changed much. It's going to be pretty one of the shorter day episode things, because we're waiting on the marriage lady. She has not come by yet. She has not given us the children. We have not been promised anything yet. So we are waiting for them. So now we wait and wait and wait for our justice. But for right now, it's really pretty simple. So it's pretty exciting, if I say so myself. So, there they are, both of them. So, pretty cool. Besides that, we've been doing pretty decently, I say, on all the random little things. Didn't get to lower their weight as much as I was hoping for today, so that kind of sucks. What was I got? I was like, oh, I'll wake up or whatever, do a bunch of things today. That did not happen the way I planned. I was going to record videos and stuff like that. Instead, my day got wasted by chores, which is fine, but it's okay. But it's like, ugh. I also wanted to clean up my room a bit more, but that's not happening. Well, the recording room, I should say, which is also my room. So it's a nice mixture of two things. Because this whole recording thing pretty much just sits in the corner of the whole thing. It does not take up that much space. You'd be surprised at how little space this little area takes up. It just has a chair for me to sit at and enjoy the tableness of it. No! I messed up. Oh man, I was hoping not for that to happen. It's okay though, because that means we lost a bit of weight, and it's another game we could go through. See, the good just confuses me, though. The next time I'm going to go back to, like, another, Japanese Tamagotchi connection or whatever. I don't know if it's in the American ones. Was it in the American ones? It's been so long. But the concept of good not doing anything, really, is kind of weird to me. Oh, no, it did do some stuff. Okay. Why's my camera not focusing in? Okay, there we go. So, that one's doing pretty decently fine. Well, let's check the other one out. I think the other one's doing way better, because, yeah. Let's see, what meals do we got? Ooh, we can give them the steak. Actually, no. I'm going to hold off on steak, because I feel like steak is a probably really fattening meal. So, there's that all done. So, there you go. This one's at 50, so this one actually is almost near the weight I usually prefer them to be at, which is like the 30 and 40 range. So, this one doesn't need that much work done to him, so he'll be pretty fine. And this one needs a lot of work done. Was it this one goes to bed like a little bit earlier, which is kind of weird. Well, I think now both of them go to bed at the same time. I don't know. It's very weird how these things are done. But let's check out the shop items. Let's see. Do we have anything fancy? Do we already have a little item? See, I've not bought too many items on the side yet. We do already have a boombox. We don't have the drum on the side, but I really don't want to spend that much on a drum currently. Okay, so that side's doing pretty decently with whatever random junk. This side, let's see. Oh, come on, focus back in. Oh, we got a sale today. Let's see, anything fancy? I guess we'll buy that. I guess we'll buy a thing of fries. Don't know what that is, but we'll buy it. I don't really want the hat. Look at the sale guy. That's pretty cool looking. I love the little differences in design. The shop has decently surprised me with how well it's designed in this one. Because, like, last time we saw the whole shop thing, it might have been well designed in the last one, too. But last time we saw the shop was in the V2. I have not ran too many connections, so that is one of the more fancy parts of the V2 was, like, it's a shop item. Because most of the Japanese ones usually have the old guy who comes by. And in these devices, the old dude is, like, the most useless Tama to me. Mainly because he doesn't bring anything good. Like, I feel like if you're gonna have a shop menu, then you need to actually have the guy selling important items or something like that. Like, I don't know why he's trying to sell me a rope every single day. It's like, no, he should, like, I don't know, maybe sell you tickets or something. Because I feel like the tickets shouldn't be in these shop items. Or, like, something specialty. I don't know. He just kind of feels useless in these devices. Which is one of those, like, whatever type things. Like, what's the point of that? And we have the only Tamagotchi I had near me is the family tree, because at some point we'll be repairing this bad boy. Well, playing Polywatch and stuff over it. I'm trying to figure out how to have been cleaning this brown stuff. This brown stuff does not come off. I don't know what it is. It's not soda, by the way. I've tried a lot of things to clean it off. It looks way better than it did when we first got it, because these used to be, like, super dark. Now it's just very light. Don't know what I'll use to clean it, but overall this is looking way better than before. It actually is. The design's still very evenly, nicely in there. It just has these weird faint brown lines. You can tell it was a very well-loved Tamagotchi. It does work perfectly fine, by the way. I did actually put batteries and test out everything. It just needs the Polywatch on the screen. But, yeah, I was gonna be like, oh, let me show an example. And, like, the only examples I have over here is, like, a lot of color Digimon, which, yay, I guess. These guys are weird. Not my favorite versions of Tamagotchi, or I mean, Digimon. Yeah. You have probably all seen my video bashing it. And then I have the original Digimon and the 20th. And then the color version. Yeah, I tried 2 times on the color devices. That's the reason why you're not seeing a Digivice color, by the way, y'all. I decided to hold off on that one. What was it? I watched Nezuma's, like, video over it today talking about it, and it looked pretty interesting. There's a few things holding me back from actually getting it, though, to be honest. One, I'm not a fan of the whole human aspect of it, and I'm not a big fan of adventure anymore. I'm sorry, everyone who loves Digimon type things, but adventure has been so overdone at this point. It just is such a bore to me. And, like, I love the original series, don't get me wrong, but it's like one of those things I watch and I'm like, ugh, don't want any more of this. Which is the reason why, like, when I came back to doing, like, vpet videos for YouTube and stuff like that, it was immediately towards Tamagotchis. So, the reason why we started the connections and re-releases is because one of these were coming out around the time, and I was like, oh, yeah, sweet, I'll do that. And then another thing was I just kind of got really disillusioned with Digimon for a while there. And Digimon's, like, one of my favorite vpet series. It always will be. I love the aspects of the whole fighting things and connecting to other devices. And love the older devices. These, like, original bricks, the original pendulums, the progresses, the X, or Pendulum X, and the XL. All really great. Well, not the Pendulum X. The Pendulum X has its own set of issues, but I do love a lot of the older devices. And at some point, I'd love to redo some of the older series I did do, because I don't know if any of y'all ever watched those older series. Those older series were designed towards, like, how my TikTok videos were done, which, looking back at it, was a really bad method of recording those type of things. Because, like, this series, we go over the daily aspects of them, and in the older styles that I did were about, like, each evolution day. So you, like, get each evolution or event type thing. So that means you get, like, a maximum of, like, maybe, like, 8 or 10 episodes or whatever, which was pretty fine for the whole TikTok culture it was made for. And that was the whole point of it, was they were just really shortly well done videos talking about a bunch of stuff that went on with the day. Or, well, talking about, like, the Cliff Notes version of what's going on. And I realized I missed a lot of aspects of the devices, and at some point I'm going to be rerunning a bunch of those type of things, and even running devices that weren't able to be shown off or whatever. And my camera's really not wanting to focus today. But I'll be going back and talking about a lot of those devices. And at some point, I'll be redoing the 20th. I think this one especially needs it the most. It's really cool. One of my favorite, or not one of my favorites, but like I think this device had so much potential and did so many things right that I feel like I need to talk about this one again, because it introduced so many concepts that I think work really well, and I think this should have been a better starting point for Digimon than, what was it, the Digimon X. I know many people aren't going to like hearing about this type of stuff, but I even think Tamagotchi should take some of the cliff notes of what the 20th did. So the 20th offered a variety of eggs, which allowed you to have like different starting points and stuff like that, which I think is a really cool idea. And I also liked the concept of running 2 characters at once. It just added a lot of variety. Now I know a lot of people are saying like you can't expect that for each and every device, but it's like I'm not wanting to expect that. I just feel like that should be something that should be looked more into, because I feel like the concept of having different starting points and like different evolutions and stuff like that is a really cool idea. And like, let's say if you have 1 egg or whatever and a Tamagotchi, and you should have multiple starting points. These devices do it actually pretty well with the boy and girl evolutions, which we're running both boys currently, but the idea that you have that random percentage of chance in the beginning, and then you have the whole like typing aspects of it. Because like, look at these two. These two became different by just the marriage of the parents, and that's a very unique idea. And that's where I think they probably looked at this and realized what made this such a successful device originally, compared to something like the what was it, the X line and stuff like that, where you just needed different points. You need those like unlockables. You need like all that random things to keep people sort of in there, because you can't have really good VPET mechanics in these basic type of devices. We've seen a lot of enjoyment from the original Gen 1s and Gen 2s to the point now where we have like 50 million shell designs, and these have their own unique type of things in them, where like the whole the bathing functions and stuff like that, and then the aspects of like food and snacks and just like how they work, and then the more idea of the random choosing, which I feel like that's a concept that really isn't around too often in vpets, is the idea of a difficulty curve and the concept of more percentile chances. The idea of that is like, nothing's 100%. So, and that's one thing I can knock against, what was it, like this device right here, is you can easily cheese it at ways. Like battles took like, you only needed 15 battles and like 12 wins. In this device, it's very easy to get those battles because you aren't having to battle harder things, you're having to battle the same thing. Or you can battle the same thing. You could also do harder, but I know many people who sat there and cheesed the first enemy of this thing and got the 15 battles that way. And like, it's just one of those things where it's like, that whole like difficulty thing is really interesting with those older devices. And then with these newer devices, I feel like you just need that more random touch of things, like different starts and stuff like that, which I think these devices do overly well. So with the connection line, you have the whole like random chances of, I'm trying to think of the proper thing, but you do have the random aspects of the parents. You have the shopkeep and stuff like that, and the different items he brings in, like all those little random ideas. And I think like you get to sort of balance it out with the old and new with concepts like this or whatever. Which I think that's like an issue with more modern Tamagotchis with the color ones, they do focus a lot on that random aspect, but they also lose touch of the VPET aspects in a way, which is one of those things I've been trying to get more used to with the color devices, because like they're cool and all, but like I would love to have a device with this sort of like longevity and difficulty curves and stuff like that in a color idea. And I know a lot of people are going to sit there and be like, but that's what these were, or whatever. And they really were not the pseudo replacement that many people were, that I think work that way. Because these evolution cycles are still short. The battle systems, I think, are a bit too lackluster in places. And the idea that these are based off the older devices means they lack a lot of the more difficulty things that kept you there. So you're missing out on the longevity and the difficulty, which made them feel very empty in a way. And and of course, it didn't like do any of the advancements of like the 20th line, where you did have the shorter spans, but you also had the different battle systems and the idea of 2 Digimon and just like a bunch of really cool concepts. Okay, I'll stop rambling for right now. I know a lot of people have been like, you're not talking about the Tamagotchis, but like, we're not doing much with these guys today. They are very, very, very little, basic little things today. But, and I feel like the connections is probably where I feel like if Bandai is going to sit there and look back at like how to advance any of their VPET concepts, I feel like looking back at these and this is probably more the better way of doing it. Because, like, you could look back at something like the Gen 1 here, which was just a simple clone. But, if you already own an original, like, Generation 1 or whatever, then what's the point of, like, moving on to this one? It's one of those type things where it's like you have these connections here, and these are a mix of the Japanese and USA ones, and so you have, like, bunch of features like mixed in there really nicely and well done, which I think just works really well as like the concept of just these two being whatever, like a mix of both regions. So there is no like one side wins. It's a mixture of both things, and you can have that nice mixture of nostalgia plus the new concepts in there. And, like, same thing happened with this one, where you still have the nostalgia aspects of it, but you also still have the newer aspects of it with the unlockables, the whole, like, Pokedex-type systems, and just the different battle features, instead of being, like, connect, and there you go. But, like, you just had the unlockables, and just a lot of new things added into them. And there's a lot of devices I feel like miss out on those concepts. And I really do think a lot of the color ones miss out on it. Because, like, what was it? With the Uni, I feel like it's way too focused on trying to sell you DLC or something like that. Which, it sort of feels like that to me sometimes. I know I haven't done, like, a full-on Uni thing properly, but, like, I'm not going to say too much about the Uni. But, well, let's talk about the Smart, at least. So, like, with the Smart, it was a super short device. It didn't really use the whole dim concept well. I feel like it didn't even use the whole, like, it being color and all of its features that well. Like, there's a lot of parts of those color devices where it's like, y'all could, like, easily make this last a bit longer, and you can sit there and use all those cool features. You could have mini games back in there. Like, the idea that I had to sit there and give it an item to, like, play with, instead of me just being like, let's play a game with it. Like, see, look, I can sit down and play a game with my Tama. Well, this is a bad example, because he's not in this game, but, the idea is that you can have, like, those variety type things in there. And you get more and more interconnected with it. And I'm kind of curious with the older type Tamas, like the older color ones, because, like, I know a lot of people will sit there and talk about, was it the P and IDL, like, they're very special type things. And especially, like, with modding and stuff like that, so I'm kind of curious on how those work fully. And, like, if you look at, like, the P or IDL, they do look a bit different than what a modern color Tamagotchi is. It's one of those devices I want to go run at some point. Had to buy one, though, but, whenever I find one, I'll do a full series on it and see where that does color right. Because I've seen people who talk about the modern devices and still, like, give them some grievance over it with the colors. I'll give grievance over the colored type Digimon devices, because I've ran a lot more Digimon devices than I have with Tamagotchis. And I already have so many issues with the Digimon ones. I was glad to see the more thought put into it with the Digivice 20th. And I could say that, like, very clearly, because, like, the animations on that, like, 20th device already look really fantastic. The idea that it has, like, a vibrating motor and, like, LEDs all built into it. So, like, I know that, like, Bandai is clearly trying to improve and stuff. I would love to see those improvements in an actual, like, vpet design. It is cool to finally see the VB concept sort of get improved upon, finally. Because the VB was so lackluster in ways, but then you get to see something that resembles the concepts, but, like, actually does it the way that we were probably more expecting it to be, like, instead of a very cheapish cash grab. It's one of those things, like, I can look back at Bandai and be like, I don't know. At times, I feel like Bandai is really lazy with concepts, and at other times, I'm like, okay, that's really unique and awesome. And then they do something again, and I'm like, come on. We went from this really cool concept to, like, back to bland ideas. I know that's just a very Bandai thing to do, though, at this point. I've been through, like, 15 million of their series, and at this point, I'm so used to the idea of them being like, hey, look at this, to, like, complete disappointment. And, like, there's versions of that concept where that isn't true, and you can see that with, like, certain series they've done. But, like, the issue is, if something doesn't do well for Bandai, they just sort of kind of ditch a project. And we have seen it many times. For example, with the Tamagotchis, they had ditched them before. There's a period in, like, the 90s to the 2000s where just, the whole VPET crash happened, and instead of Bandai being like, instead of Bandai sitting there and, like, rethinking the ideas or whatever, they just kind of jumped ship and came back later with the connection line. And that has happened many, many times. Digimon, I can sit there and point that out. You can, because what is it? If you look at least the American line of things, this device, the first one that came out, was it the first of 2 devices that came out for about, man, how long was it? Could have been like 20 or 15 years or something like that. So we went from this first American device immediately over to the 20th anniversary. So that means like 20 years passed before we Americans got another device. Japan got some as well, but, like, even Japan's had those times where Digimon just died, and they come back, like, years later. And I get the idea, is, like, you do have to refresh a series at some point, but I feel like Bandai kind of does it the wrong way, where instead of just taking a back step and fixing an idea, they just stick with it. And we've seen that in the American concept with the X2, with Digimon, where they messed up. There's a whole lot of outrage and stuff like that. But instead of Bandai being like, okay, we'll fix it or whatever, they kind of just did, like, a whole, like, repackaged stuff and sent it back out into the world and just fully gave up on the, like, Digimon X concept. And then same with the Vital Hero concept, where that kind of just didn't do that well, and so they basically packed their bags and left again. And now we see that with the closure of the VB app, and just the idea is that they won't sit down and just think about how to create something, how to make it better or whatever. They just take that first failure so personally. It's kind of weird. And I feel like that's such an easy way to just get around that. All they have to do is just listen to the people who mess around with these devices. They can easily sit down and fix concepts or whatever. Like, these devices had their own outrage because they don't include a pause feature. I don't use a pause feature, but I know many people who desperately rely on that. And I know a lot of people are like, I know, like, the modern Tamagotchis do it. The Gen 1 doesn't do it, but even, take this Digimon here, which is the modern one or whatever, it does do it at some points. So you can have that type of thing, and that whole experience in a way. So it's one of those, like, random things. And sorry if you hear anything in the background, but that's people walking around. But I feel like Bandai should sit down and, like, rethink their concepts with multiple franchises. Because even you could look at, like, Namco properties that they own, and look at how many Namco series they kind of just don't use anymore. Like, you have Time Crisis and Klonoa, and just other concepts where, like, you could personally improve upon these. You can sit there and keep adding on to it, but they just kind of stop because of that whole, like, first failure type thing. And I feel like all they have to do is just look back and realize where they messed up at and figure out where things don't work. And there is the inverse of that, where something just won't work ever. And, like, that could happen, but, like, for that to happen, you have to actually, like, have the whole company be so focused on an idea that it just never, like, pushes out properly. Like, you have, like, a lot of the Sonic games from, like, the 2000s era, where it's just a bad one after bad one after bad one. And at some point, like, they did finally make it good, but, like, you have to sit there and be like, okay, you gotta slow down your roll, and, like, sit down and actually think of the improvements, and not keep pushing out content. Meanwhile, Bandai's the opposite, where they'll stop instead of doing it. So, I don't know, it's one of those things where just, it's how those companies work and stuff like that. I feel like Bandai can easily change in ways, and one of the bigger issues is with it currently is they just don't have enough competition for anyone to push them. Because, like, let's look at these two guys right here. So you got, Tamagotchis, but, like, if you look at their competitors, it's like you have Gigapets, the Puni Ruin thing that came out recently, and what was it? The weird, like, Bitsy, yeah. So, like, you have 3 different concepts. Gigapets are very much their own unique style. They can very much live next to a Tamagotchi because they are so uniquely different. There is no really competition towards that. The Puni Ruin I have no experience with. I'm not even going to talk about it. It looks very interesting, though. I like the whole gimmicks they're trying out there with that. And then with the Bitsy, that just kind of is super lackluster because it's trying to make you focus on the spectacle of the device itself, which are the whole, like, display concept mainly in those. So, like, there's not, like, full-on, like, actual competition really going on with these, like, virtual pets currently. There's no one, like, popping up being like, hey, I want to take directly on these little concepts. So, of course, you have Bandai who can sit there and easily get away with being lazy at whatever point. Okay, but I'm going to end it right there for now, because this episode's like 27 minutes long, and I still have to post it, because it's late, and I got lazy, or not lazy, I was busy, I guess I should say. But, I don't know, I just had to spill out things, blah. Okay, so, thank you all for watching. We will be working on probably exercise things with these guys. Tomorrow we will be seeing the Marriage Lady, or we should be seeing the Marriage Lady tomorrow. It might be a day later. No, I think it's tomorrow. But we will be seeing the Marriage Lady pretty soon, so we will be getting ready for that. But that's pretty much it, so thank you all for watching, and see you next time. Bye.